Hello everyone, this is Divya Jain from BioAngels and I welcome you to the second session of the Biotech Healthtech Angel Investment Masterclass, a series of 6 masterclasses by industry leaders to help you understand the angel investing in biotech and healthtech sectors. These sessions will help to speed up on the dynamics of the angel investing ecosystem and emerging practices with the help of trusted experts and curated content as you take the plunge into the world of investment. To give you a gist about BioAngels, it is a unique partnership between BIRAC, an enterprise of the Department of Biotechnology, and IN, India's single largest horizontal platform for seed and early stage investing. It is India's first sector-focused angel investor group in biotech, healthtech, medtech, pharma, cleantech, and agritech. This brings money, mentoring, and market access, echoing IN's genetics. It brings a heady mix of private investor groups, driving the investment process, along with the access to domain and tech expertise embedded in the government ecosystem through BIRAC. Through this masterclass, we also invite angel investors to join BioAngels and discover and get early access to a pool of high potential startups in these sectors witnessing exponential growth. Moving ahead to today's topic, angel investment in biotech and healthtech, opportunities and risk in angel investing. This masterclass will help you to understand the opportunities that angel investment brings on the table, being a high gain asset class. The session would also acknowledge the primary risks associated with early stage investing in biotech, healthtech sectors, and the mitigation strategy that you can build around it. Today, we are joined by BioAngels Governance Board member, Mr. Arun Seth. To introduce him, Mr. Arun Seth took early retirement from his corporate career to focus on bringing the benefits of IT telecom to real-world businesses in various sectors via an innovative entrepreneurial ecosystem and a focus on giving back to the society. Starting as the founding MD of British Telecom, India in 1995, he built it to its current leadership position. He had been on several co-boards like Alcatel Lucent India, BT India, Tech Mahindra, Airtel, Acme Telepower, and more. He had been very active with government and regulators on shaping telecom policy and IT policy, and he was on the founding committee for the formation of the Data Security Council of India. Currently, he's an independent director on the board of Narayana Health, Jubilant Pharmova Limited, Sifi Technologies, Usha Breco Limited, Servion Global Solutions Limited, etc. He has been an active angel investor for the last 20 plus years, and he's an active advisor and mentor to several startups based out of India and USA, including Healthify Me, Fit Galaxy, Health Cubed, Nutanix USA, InMobi, and more. I welcome you, sir, for joining us today for this masterclass.
Thank you, Divya. Welcome, everybody. Let me see how to start this. I am technically challenged, being my age. So I need to find a way to get the slides up. Where are they? Here they are. I must start with this. I did my graduation from IIT Kanpur in 73, and my children always tell me, when was the microprocessor invented in 1974? So they asked me to shut up, but that's kids for you. So here we are. Thank you so much for taking the time out to listen to this little presentation and masterclass on opportunities in biotech and health tech sector. My own experience, as Divya gave some idea, I was privileged to be LP in Infinity Capital in 1998. That was India's first angel fund. We invested in India Bulls, which gave us a big return. In India Games, Avendus, many companies, which are now household names for all of you. And then once we closed the fund, that's when we set up IAN. So that's the genesis of IAN. From the Infinity Fund, we then set up Indian Angel Network, which is now the world's largest angel network. And I'm very proud to be part of that. So my own experience, as I said, that was the first one, but I helped to incubate InMobi in 2007, which became India's first unicorn in 2011. Now, of course, nobody bothers about the news about unicorns anymore. We're getting them one a week at least. Maybe it slowed down a little. And then I'm also proud that in InMobi, we created a second unicorn called Glance in 2021 with investments from Google and from Geo. I've been involved, as Divya mentioned, with a bunch of companies, Healthify Me, EasyTap, ToneTag. There's a whole lot of them been involved. But currently, I'm focusing my entire time on investing and mentoring and supporting the ecosystem for what I'd call biotech and wellness in general. And that's what I'll talk to you about today. And I sit on the board of many of these companies. I'm an investor. And I'd love to find a way to get you guys more engaged into this ecosystem. It's really a brilliant thing. But first, tell me why biotech and health tech today, and why not fintech, and why my own thought process about the whole journey and why this is so important for all of us. So I'm 71, and I've been privileged that you'll get a good, healthy life for another maybe 10, 20 years. But many of you who are in your 20s and 30s now, my guess is you'll live to more than 100 with the advent of medical technology, which is there. But that's the good part of it. The sad part, in some sense, is that our lives have become more sedentary thanks to my technology of telecom, laptops, etc. And you hear of prevalence of all these diseases like diabetes, heart attacks, cancer happening at much earlier ages. It's one of the reasons is our environment, food, air, water are more polluted. But the question to ask of everybody, and that's the reason why I kind of retreaded myself into the world of health tech and biotech now, is do you want to live those extra years of 20 years as being a revenue to the health industry only? They are salivating for you to get older and sicker. Or do you want to live those extra years with health and engagement? And that's the promise which technology can bring. So there's a wider purpose than making money, to my mind, for all of you who are listening in. I bet it's the latter, that everybody wants to spend those extra 10, 20, 30 years of your life living a life of health and being productive. And that's the reason why I would say, look at health tech, biotech in its widest sense. Including food, including everything like that, to be there. You'll make money, but you'll also be doing a lot of societal contribution, to my mind. So all the learnings, to my mind, what I've learned from deep tech, I'm involved with companies in quantum security, telecom. All these learnings can help us build a better life. And it's your mobile phone, this fellow out here, which will be your medical device, which will make you live well. That's my point. And to me, that's the holy grail for tech in my mind. It's not that the others are bad, but this sector is the best contribution we all can make together to mankind and society. There are challenges, of course. And I mean, I'll just mention one of the challenges which I'm working on. And I'd love you guys to engage and talk about it. Because today, all of us are used to paying to get cured. But we never pay for remaining well. We think we are supermen and superwomen and nothing will happen to us. But that's not true. The question is, we need to change not only technology along with it, but the business model in some sense, so that the medical system is incentivized to keep you well, not to keep you sick as it is currently. So that's enough on the opportunity from my side. And I'll be happy to talk about that later and take questions. So this entire investment in the angel space is a very high return investment category. And we have an opportunity here to create significant monetary and societal value. And these are the sunrise sectors which are there. And the government policy is very, very friendly to this right now. I don't know how many people are aware, but today, the country, we import nearly, we consume nearly $100 billion worth of medtech stuff. More than 50-60% is imported in this country, more than 50-60%. So it's a big opportunity for us, and I'm sure you're reading in the papers about the PLI, about all the things, the government, Atmanirbhar, which is going on. So we have a very significant opportunity where the government incentives and the way our society is all aligned for us to look at this sector for high potential, high gain. But there are risks in this, and I'd like to highlight some of them. And this is not to say the risks are bad. The question is, how do we mitigate? And we'll come to that. So one is the business model, as I mentioned in the beginning, and the product market fit are evolving here. Unlike fintech, where people are fintech or any other business SaaS or consumer tech, you just go there, launch and something. But here, human lives are involved, and I'm sure none of you, when you fall sick or something happens, would like to be on an experimental thing. So naturally, our doctors and the people in the medical entire industry are relatively risk averse compared to all the other sectors, and rightly so, in my mind, which is why you have regulation. It takes years to get approvals, but because human lives are involved, and that we must remember that what we are doing this for. But it does take time compared to other sectors. So that's one of the risks that we need to be aware. So when you're looking at investment returns or whatever it is, you need to give yourself a longer time frame by design. It is not going to be the same as other sectors. Just remember that. It's a highly competitive market, especially MNCs who have billions of dollars of marketing dollars to create drugs, to create devices. So that's what we are competing against. I sit on the board of a pharma company here. The level of investment that the global companies do, we are at a pittance compared to that. But we may not have those tens of billions of dollars for R&D, but we have the smarts with the audience out here, which is there, to be able to compete with them with our smarts and with our innovative mindset. There's, of course, a hugely changing mindset. Whenever you guys have to go to a hospital or a doctor, you get a battery of new tests and so on and so forth. So the market is changing quickly, but that's the opportunity for us to invent. And as I mentioned, doctors by nature, the people who decide whether this is good for you as a patient, are risk averse. And as I said, agree, they should be. But many doctors, including the one that I am with, Dr. Devi Shetty, whose name may be familiar to many of you, is very innovative. And I would say, compared to, let's say, in a bank, if 40%, 50% are innovative-led, in a hospital or in a medical space, 20, 30% are there. And there are enough of them to make a difference for us. Then, of course, I mentioned about the regulatory risk. Regulations are absolutely necessary, unlike in other spaces, for medical devices, for health tech startups, again, because lives are involved and they add to the time element. So we need to factor that in. There are other areas which are coming in, like clean tech and renewable areas, which also in some sense are a wide part of this whole area. They're again regulatory sensitive. There could be potentially trade sanctions on countries because of wars and so on and so forth. And there are the usual stuff of working in India, which is angel tax and things like that, which come in. But that's par for the course. It's not specifically for health tech. It's for every single sector that these things are there. Many of you who are involved in business in India, I have a favorite saying, which I say that if you follow 100% of the rules in this country, you break 50% of them. They're so intertwined and inconsistent. But that's living in India for us. Then there is the liquidity risk in some sense that compared to other investments, this is a little longer for all the reasons that I told you. It takes longer, but the returns are staggeringly higher. The gestation period you should be prepared for is 5 to 8 years typically. I exited from Healthify Me. I invested in 2013 and last year I got an exit. It took 8 years. And it's the least liquid. As specifically, even all angel investments are high risk, very high return. And of course, the last risk, as I would talk to you about, is the founding team risk. And to me, that's the most important part. That it's the founders who make or break the company. And I'm sure many of you who invested will realize that particular thing. It's the founding team cohesion. You hear of cases where teams break up who may have started as classmates in college. Sometimes, there was a company, I remember, Mu Sigma, where the husband and wife divorced, and that kind of nearly finished the company. So all those risks are there. So the big thing that I have found about all the founders that I look at is you are never likely to, whatever the first business case will be there on a piece of Excel or PowerPoint, there will be pivots. The question you must look at is the founding team that you're investing in has an ability to pivot? To me, that's a very, very important thing, more than the business plan or whatever it is. Because at this early stage, at the angel level, these are all assumptions. So test the assumptions. It's not necessarily the revenue, but the assumption should be right. And that's where your own smarts come in to assess whether they're in the right space with the right opportunities and the right assumptions which they're going in. And most important, as I said, is the founding team's ability to pivot. Even in InMobi, as an example, the company that I invested in 2007, we died a year and a half later. And we pivoted to an ad tech. And we were early on compared to, before Facebook, Google got into it. And that's the reason we ended up as being the first India's first unicorn. So, but it took 2 pivots to get there. That's really important to us. And there needs to be adaptability to market and external inputs, which is general thing. And helping, and the biggest thing which is there in this one, and the mitigation for this is you people who are the angel investors. You need to be more than just check writers. You need to get actively engaged with your company wherever you invest. And the real value will come in, the money is necessary, but the sufficiency will come from the mentorship that we at IAN, BioAngels, and you people who are out there can give them. But I would after having been involved for 25 years, the returns are well worth it for both, in this case, for both monetary and society gains. I would say, so now that we talked of risks, let's talk of how do we mitigate them. So one of the ways to do it is that if you invest only in one startup, and I'm sure none of you are looking at that, chances are you'll lose your money. But so you need to invest in multiple startups across sectors, geographies, and stages of companies. It's a risk mitigation strategy at this level, because this is the most risky form of investment, where you're betting on a founder where they still have to find product market fit, or even if they've done it, how do they scale? And then we have to, but we need to bring to the value, which is the expertise of IAN through its network for people like you. The mentorship makes all the difference, is all I can tell you, having been involved in angel investing for more than 25 years now. And this, not only in this, I'm involved with a foundation, for example, called the Karam Foundation, which is helping young ladies who are going into college, who come from very disadvantaged backgrounds. The mentorship we are providing to them through various people have fundamentally changed their lives. So the mentorship is the biggest piece of angel investing. It's not just your check writing. So please remember that. And then the usual story that we do, that you need to focus on due diligence, again, as I said, of the founding team. And whenever, I have a principle that whenever I get an opportunity to exit from my angel investments, I sell either half or enough to cover my investment. And it doesn't matter how much you think you've lost, but you need to think of getting liquidity, because liquidities come often, but you need to be able to do that. That's my view, but each of you has to take their own view, whether you're want to wait till the end, but who knows? So you got to be, I personally, I take liquidity whenever I get it. And as I said, invest with people, not alone. Connect with co-investors, leverage their expertise, which is what this whole group of BioAngels that we have set up to specifically invest and support this ecosystem is all about. And that also helps you to de-risk your outcomes. And a lot of documentation will come to you. Please do look at all that one. Be engaged with the network. That's the best part, that where you'll get the most satisfaction and the most returns on your investment. I do believe that if you put your time in, and I always believe this one, that if the company does fail, I'm equally responsible because I put my time in. And I'd encourage all of you to think of putting time into the companies that you invest. That's really the good part. In terms of the opportunities, now that we've got to try to scare you with the risks, the mitigation, here's the good part. It's a very high gain, high asset class. You get gains through exits. You get through, strategic investors coming in or through M&A. I mean, one of my companies called EasyTap just got acquired by Razorpay. It was a great exit. And most important, as I come back to, is the mentoring part. Your personal engagement, frankly, reduces the risk. And you have only yourself to blame at the end of it. So please do think very seriously about what this point of mentoring. It is not that this is like a fixed deposit that anybody is investing in and the money will come weekly or monthly. It won't happen. And about biotech and the healthcare sector, what we're doing in BioAngels, it's a very wide term, I would say, for not just bio or med tech or health tech, but it's all about wellness. We would like to cover food. We would like to cover anything which can keep you well. So think about it widely and not just as something which is going into the medical system. As I explained right in the beginning, if we can keep you people and society well without going to a hospital, that's the best outcome for us as a society. So I would like you to think about that part. And just to put some numbers, this is going exponentially. We're going to get more than a 15% growth in this space. And just as a aside on this one, I don't know how many of you are aware, but the USA spends 18% of its GDP on healthcare. 18%. India spends probably 3% or less. The question for us is, we as a society can't afford to spend 20% of our GDP when we have so many poor people in our country. Well, how do we be clever, use medtech, use AI, use all these tools to maybe do with 5 to 6%? And that's the opportunity for us. We can do exactly and better than what the USA does with much lower if we are clever and use all the learnings that India has had around AI, everything, and do that. And there's a lot of innovation out there. The new startups are more than 1,000 in this space. And our nation, including the BioAngels, and I'll talk a little about that, we are targeting to touch 150 billion threshold by 2025 of 150 billion. That's massive opportunity. So the space is wide, the runway is very long. And more important, all of you guys who are much younger than people like me, we'd like you to live well. Isn't that a great outcome? And on the opportunities, so the government has set up BioAngels, which is a entity of under the Department of Biotechnology to nurture and fund biotechnology companies because these are very high risk. So they've been funding it for years. And it's very, very large, the number of startups which are out there. And that's the reason they came, Indian Angel Network and BioAngels came together to create this BioAngels network, which will help to take these nascent things which the government has funded in terms of innovation. These are scientists doing things like that. But we need to, toughen the technology. We need to test it out. It's a long-term testing which goes on, and sometimes these clinical trials can last for 2-3 years. So, which is unlike others. So, I think it's a phenomenal opportunity for us as a group to be able to create this. And our partnership with BioAngels gives us the confidence that we have wonderful technologies. The question is, how do we take them together to market? And I gave you about the details about BioAngels. And this is a unique opportunity between IAN and BioAngels. Some numbers out here. So on IAN, we have more than 500 members, and we have more than 1,000 mentors out there. And BioAngels, as I told you, has 3,500 startups. 1,250 IPs have been generated. There are 70 bio incubators supported in hospitals and every place like that. So I think this is a partnership which has a lot of legs, and which together with people like you who are on the call and who are interested in getting into this space is really what we should be doing together. And the question to you, this group here, is why invest with BioAngels? I sit on the legal board of the company. You get access to domain experts from BioAngels and from outside. We have a massive sourcing opportunity to see the best deals and get early access to them. The third point is again the most important. The difference will not be the money we give, but with the mentorship that we provide from the leads. And we have a model in IN which is going to be replicated in BioAngels, where people who become the lead investor get certain extra amount of ability to make money, but they put in more time. So it's all a question of risk reward for your time. We've done many, just to give you an idea, we've done a bunch of health tech, biotech deals. Companies like Transcell is there. Nokak is something I'm very proud of. During the pandemic, I mean, many of you would remember there were no ventilators, and India was an importer. Nothing was manufactured. But during the pandemic, I was part of that team. We created a ventilator completely online, virtually, and delivered more than 1,000 of them. We have so I'm very proud of that one. We have things like Pandorum, which is in the genetic space, biogenetic space. Onsure, as I said, is something which came out of something called the Stanford Bio Incubator in Ames. And this is a product which is now FDA approved, and it's for elderly incontinence, and it's being sold in the US. So if a couple of companies can do it, why not have 100 of them? You have Yostra, you have Niam in intraocular lenses. So we've got a few, which is why we said, rather than being part of a general one, let's create a specialized group of investors and mentors who can actually fundamentally change the trajectory of this whole space. And what does BioAngels with the help of IN do? We do the initial screening, we do the due diligence, documentation, business monitoring, so that it leaves you as the investor and mentor to focus on what you do, which is providing mentorship into the companies, which will be fundamentally making all the difference. And we have a lot of network resources of R&D facilities, of corporates to pilot, to validate. I mean, my own company, Narayan Health, where I'm on the board of, or Jubilant, we encourage lots of startups to come and pilot with us and do clinical research, everything a part of the ecosystem. We help to create ecosystem. And there are opportunities to create overseas partnerships with groups outside India. And we do regular updates, we do exits, and we have the vast experience of IN in this space to bring to this table. So thank you very much, Divya. I've completed my talk, I hope in time, and you're not going to be angry with me.
No, sir, absolutely not. I mean, thank you so much for such an insightful session. I hope and I am assuming that it has helped a lot of our audience who are actually, looking to start their journey as an angel investor. So we have a few questions from our audience.
Sure.
So one is, as an investor, what should I keep in mind before making an angel investment, since there are a lot of risks involved?
Just give me the name so at least I can address them by name.
So this is from Mansi.
Mansi. Hi, Mansi. Thank you for asking that question. But as I said, don't make one investment only. That's the first thing. Chances are you're going to lose your money. So you need to make enough of them. I mean, I have a magic number of at least 10. And choose the stage and choose the kind of geographies where if you're only going to be in biotech, it's okay. But my guess is 7 to 10 investments would be a kind of a starting point. I mean, just to say, over the years, I now have more than 50 investments.
Right.
But it does take that time. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Mansi, for that question. Next we have is from an anonymous attendee. This is, would love to know how blockchain is disrupting health tech sector and what are the wider use cases in this industry to look into.
I'm no hi anonymous, but I mean it's a good question, because the whole thing is that the blockchain itself is supposed to make everything secure. That's the whole idea behind blockchain. And it's still finding its feet. I mean, there are issues in Ethereum. The current meltdown in crypto has not helped. But I do believe at the heart of keeping us well, I'm going back to my original thesis, is health records. So currently, all our health records, if you look into your own house, your files, they'll be in some file, some undecipherable doctor's prescription. They'll be all over the place. So the first job we as a country should do, and which I'm quite involved in creating the National Health Stack, which is going to happen. It will be like UPI. So if you have one UPI, one health ID, in which all the hospitals come on the center and on the same platform, and all your records are all electronically stored in the cloud, then your doctor can access them. You don't have to carry a thick file. I have a thick file, unfortunately, but that's the way it is, because current hospitals want to hang on to their records, thinking this is the magic sauce. But we need to, it'll happen maybe in the next 4 or 5 years. It's bound to happen, like what happened in UPI. So at that point in time, if the records are not centralized but are on a blockchain, they are far more secure. So it'll provide you the security, to my mind. But I mean, I'm no expert in that space, but that's the way I look at blockchain. It's another enabling technology to be able to keep our health records secure so that it can be transferred easily.
Right. So our anonymous attendee do have a name. It's Sumit Gupta. He has responded.
I don't know whether I managed to answer your question or not.
Next we have is an ideal time the angel investor should wait, and what ideal X returns?
I said, certainly in health, I mean, as an angel investor, you need to be prepared to wait at least 5 to 8 years. In the health tech, it's probably going to lean towards 8 years. As I told you, Healthify, my exit happened after 7 years.
Right.
And by the way, I took an exit in 2017 also, and I regret it because that was at less than 10% of what it got sold at. But I mean, I've been through this journey. So that's my suggestion, that you should hold on to at least that, or be prepared to hold on for that kind of period.
Right, absolutely. So we have a question from an anonymous attendee, a follow-up question to the first question. What's the minimum ticket size we can or should plan while aiming for 7 to 10 companies? Though it depends on surplus money for investment with individual, but what is general ticket size industry expects?
I mean, I can give you the IAN figure, and I'm pretty sure it should be the same in BioAngels. It's minimum 5 lakhs.
Right.
5 lakhs is about the minimum. Between 5 and 10 lakhs is what per investment is what we expect from people.
Right.
And you have normally 30 odd people, 20, 30 people doing. So that's enough to get the company going. And that's the reason we also have the IAN fund, which is also finished, but we are thinking of another one, which it also does a follow-on investment.
Right. Thank you for this question. Next, we have from Abhinav.
And by the way, let me add to that. And most of the time, you don't have to put in the 5 lakhs upfront. Sometimes, most of the time, it's in 2 tranches or 3 tranches.
Right.
So from a cash flow point of view, so at any time, your outgo can be from 2 to 3 lakhs.
Right, absolutely. Next question is from Abhinav. Do BioAngels integrate R&D and pharma companies to create a more conducive environment for this ecosystem?
Absolutely spot on. As I said, we've just launched BioRack. With BioRack, it took a long time to sign, but we intend to not only take on individual members, but we intend to take on hospitals, pharma companies, the ecosystem as partners in this space. And the reason is, I have helped, for example, I'm on the board of Jubilant Pharma. I've helped the Jubilant Group to create an angel fund for them, a fund for themselves of, I think, $25 million on the balance sheet to invest in companies. And for example, one of the companies they invested is in a company called Mr. Veg, which is in, smart proteins, where right from it's artificial meat in some sense. That's also part of our remit. So every major corporation is thinking of a venture fund, corporate venture fund. We want to get those people on board because they're not only the source of money, they're also the source of, doing pilots with them. Even in NH, Narayan Health, we have a 15 or $20 million fund where we invest in startups. And we give them mentorship. We also give them ability to partner with us for trials.
Right.
So good question, Abhinav. Thank you, because that's the secret. It's not just angels riding. The ecosystem is most important in this case.
Yeah, and through BioAngels, we are actually aiming to create an inclusive ecosystem.
Yeah.
for the entire biotech and health tech industry.
And it could be, as I mentioned, it could be water. It could be any of the, I sit on the board of Kent, for example. So we'd be very happy to, try out things in water, in environment, because
Clean
all
tech,
of this
right.
keep us well.
Right. Next question is from another anonymous attendee. Hi, I'm working in Europe in medical device. I have helped to develop products and tech for a MNC based on Indian and African patient data. Could you please suggest how can I help and get involved, and what company can I mentor?
Can I?
Mentor.
I said, thank you. There's no name there.
No name.
No, it doesn't matter. No. So I'm saying it's a great idea, and we'd love to have people like you engaged with us at BioAngels. We are just starting our journey. We've got a couple of companies which may have your expertise. So, Divya, why don't you give my email ID and yours, and let's engage with him or her. I mean, I hope it's
Absolutely.
a her. I hope it's a her.
Absolutely, I'll do that.
And by the way, just to add to that, I'm from one of the IITs. Then the number of people, because I'm helping to set up a research hospital at IIT Kanpur, where we've raised money from the alumni. We've raised 600 crores to set up a research hospital out there. And we'd love to partner. And we find the number of IITians from Kanpur who are involved in the ecosystem in the US is completely freaky. So I'm pretty sure that we need to, and that's a great idea. How do we reach out to the Indian diaspora to get engaged with us on this?
Absolutely. I mean, this is also one of the aim and objective of these master classes, to reach out to everybody in the ecosystem and to get them involved with BioAngels to create this entire ecosystem around, health tech, biotech, and the sectors that we are focusing on.
Just to give you an idea, when we were involved in creating that NOCA, the ventilator during COVID in 2020, the guy who helped us most was a guy called Yashdeep. He was from IIT Kanpur. I'd never known him before. He was the chief of innovation for Stryker, one of the world's largest medical device companies. And he put in so much time to help us think through. And there were a bunch of other people. They came from all over the world. But my point is, that was a crisis. Everybody was wanting to help. Why the hell can't we cooperate when we don't have a crisis? Go ahead, Divya.
Yes. Next is it safe? This is from Pulkit Sharma. Is it safe to invest in early stage startups which do not have patents and customers yet, but have a strong tech base proven via a MVP or a working prototype?
That's the whole philosophy of angel investing, that there is a high risk.
Right.
But you need to assess whether that risk is right for you. Because if they have a problem, I've personally invested in, people. I've encouraged a lot of people to leave their safe jobs and given them their check even before they had a company. But that's me. So many of them I've done where I've encouraged them. They've been in nice big companies like InMobi, for example. Naveen used to be in McKinsey, so I encouraged him, and see where he is. So so don't worry about it. There is risk there, but if you think the team is good, they have an idea, and more important, you can help them to do it better. That's the key part.
Right. Yeah.
So never forget this fact that you need to be acting as a mentor too. Not just, if you're going to be only a check writer and stay in the sidelines, maybe you shouldn't be there.
Right. Absolutely.
Now, Divya is not liking what I said about you shouldn't be there.
No. I absolutely agree with you, sir. Everybody, I feel, has his or her own risk appetite. And depending upon that, one should take up decisions. And of course, like you mentioned, it's very important to, not only invest in companies, but also mentor these companies. Because that is going to go the long way and going to, it's anyway going to benefit the investors at the end of the day.
And don't think that if you're not in a medical field, you can't mentor, because at the end, any medical company, any medtech company or whatever you may say it, also requires HR, they require finance, they require hiring of people, they require strategy, they require digital marketing. Everything is required. So you don't have to be a medical expert to be able to guide a company, is all I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. I
Anything you're doing is helpful.
Yeah, help with the business. If you are an investor, you are some business expert, you can help them with the go-to-market strategy, how they can launch their product. There are a lot of roles across these startups, even in health tech and biotech sectors, and even for that matter, agri-tech and clean tech. So there's a lot of scope for everybody to actually, come together and help build the ecosystem. Uh, we have next question from Saradhi. How to start the journey without any experience in startups or investment?
Hi, Sardi. No, I'm saying this is a leap of faith.
Yeah.
That you need to take. You have two choices with your money and your time. You can be very safe. If you want to be very safe, this may not be the sector for you. But here's something that I tell everybody, and I'm going to be very impolite here. Don't invest whatever it is. If that money is required to run your life, do not invest in angel investing. This is money that is something that you don't require. But for example, depending on the age that you are at. So I tell people who are my age or maybe even 10 years younger that 5% of your portfolio you should put into this. Even if, let's say, it all goes bust, it still doesn't kill you. So don't use your retirement money or your living money for this, please.
Right.
That's the only advice that I have. But it's like diversifying. Today, of course, the interest rates and others are going up. So you do need to put some money into this at every stage in your life, is all I'm saying. And the reason is not that I want you to put your money at risk or something like that, but that's how you'll get a better return. Longer term, if you only invest in FDs, which is probably one of the safest things, chances are inflation will kill all your earnings. So how do you beat inflation? So to make a real save is you need to invest in, guess what? Do you know who's funding all these VCs and PE funds? Is the pension funds of America, Canada, and Europe. This pension money coming because they can't earn enough money to take up the commitments they've given. Right. So they want to put into risk. So, I'll give you an example, even from Infinity days, which is 25 years ago. We got such a massive return on India Bulls. The company that, so we, again, to set the thing, we invested that time in about 20 plus companies. And 3 of them are still there today. That's the good part. India Bulls, we used to own, I think, 15% of that company. It gave by the way, in 2001, when the crisis came, it was bankrupt, like all of them. But it recovered, moved into real estate, power, everything, and did an IPO. And we got a massive return as a result of that one piece. India Games was another one. And Avendus, as I told you, I was a mentor and the board member of Avendus. And there are others which got sold. But I'm saying that's the kind of profile which is there after 25 years.
Absolutely. Next question is from Sudha Lakshmi. Suppose if the startup has plans to transfer their tech in future, is it still advisable to invest in that particular startup?
Absolutely, Sudha. Absolutely. That's the best, I would say, compliment that a company can have if other people want to license their tech. And certainly in the biotech field, to the best of my knowledge, a lot of tech transfer happens even amongst competition. So that's the way you kind of cooperate also. So everybody can't do everything in this sector. So if somebody's got something who's there which can be a part of it, you license that. So you sell that tech part of it. So most biotech companies and medtech companies have this policy of doing something themselves and licensing it out.
Yeah.
And within deep competition too. That's how the sector grows
up. Next question is from Ajit Raghavan. Most of vaccines used in India are imported. Making such vaccines locally is much easier. Is there opportunity to make such vaccines in India?
I'm no vaccine expert, but to the best of my knowledge, we are a net exporter of vaccines. Yeah. So companies like Serum Institute have not built, they took AstraZeneca, they've taken Novavax now. So they're all being made here. but companies like Bharat Vaccines or whatever in Hyderabad built it from scratch. So there's opportunities for both. It's a long time consuming thing to get approvals to do. It takes years. So for example, Serum, the Poonawallahs have licensed the technology from AstraZeneca, Novavax, from others, and they're I hope you're proud to. I'm proud to say that they're the world's largest manufacturer of the vaccine, Serum Institute. And that's an example of cross-licensing, building own technology. But when you see, once you're such a large user and builder, then you license technology. That's your skill. And leave it to the startup. And that is true in this biotech field. Most of the drugs which the large companies, whether it's a Pfizer, Abbott, or J&J, the innovator, there's not necessarily innovators. They innovate some, but they buy companies or license stuff, and then they have the ability to market. That's their biggest power.
Right. Well, anyway, a lot of innovation has been happening in this sector as well. And you also had this point in your presentation that how the bioeconomy of India is growing. And we are actually, the government has this ambitious target of touching 300 billion. By 2030. So this is how it's going to happen with all this innovation, which is happening in the biotech, medtech, pharma, all the industries. And of course, and we are here to actually leverage that and pass on the benefits to everybody in the ecosystem.
Let me shock you guys a little. When COVID hit, we did not produce ventilators in this country.
Yeah.
We were so dependent on imports. I mean, today, are you aware? No, you are aware that kidney and dialysis, no dialysis machines are produced in India. No, none, zero. Not even the water which goes there. I'm just saying that's the opportunity. So at IIT Kanpur, the one that I'm involved, Saurabh is also involved in that one. We are creating a new something called a LVAD, which is a heart support machine, which costs 50 lakhs. We believe in 3 years, we'll have something which will be probably 5 lakhs.
Oh, wow.
That's I'm not saying it's at the end, as our engineers said, it's just a pump. What's wrong with it? The different materials, it goes into a human body. So we need to be careful. It will take time. But every little part, my personal belief is, and I've invested in about 8-9 companies like that even the patterns which will come out of your wearables, and which is what I pointed my mobile phone. Your mobile phone, through these sensors on your body, will tell you very much in advance what's likely to happen. For example, I'm an investor in a company called Cyclops MedTech in Bangalore. We use the phone to track your eye, and even before an MRI can detect, dementia and other neurological diseases, we can say something has changed. Go get a checkup, and you can do it at home.
Amazing.
That's the power of this machine here.
Right. And that's the innovation that we are talking about in India.
And behind that is AI, because the AI picks up all the changes. I mean, I'm an investor in a company called Twin Health, where we can reverse diabetes in about 75% of the cases using a CGM patch and the phone.
Oh, wow.
We've raised about 200 million in that.
Amazing. I mean, more than for the audience, I think this session would help me a lot with the learning and everything.
Why are you going to become a member of and pay money to become a member of BioAngels?
I would definitely do that. I would love to do that.
No, I hope the audience is also wanting to do that.
So the next question is from another anonymous attendee. How do you increase the probability of exits that your early stage investments generate outsized returns?
There is a probability, chances are that you'll get an exit in about 10 to 15% of any nature. There will be some which will kind of just go on and on. But those 10% or 15% that you get will give you outsized returns. And the returns, my guess, can be anywhere from a 25% IRR to 100%. It's very difficult to say what it can be.
Right.
But you got to invest, which is the reason the mitigation strategy that we gave you is that invest in at least 10 is my number.
Right.
That's the only way, because 100% of them will not exit. That's a given. That's the only truth. 100% will not exit.
Right.
So that's the only answer that I can give it this way, but the returns are outsized.
Absolutely. That's there. So another question is also
to give you an example, when I think I invested in EasyTap, the value was 10 crores, I think, of that company. And we exited at 135 million. That's the answer to you.
Amazing. That's amazing.
Even Healthcare was like that. It was a 10 crore value of the company when it was an idea.
Right.
We exited at maybe, I think, 80, 90 million.
I think, angel investments and the networks have been there in the ecosystem for very long, but I feel not a lot of people know about it, and still they are, a little hesitant to invest because it simply falls into high risk category and long gestation period. But the kind of gains everybody gets, like you mentioned, if you are anyway hedging your risk and you are adopting this mitigation strategy and you are investing across sectors and in different companies, you can definitely get good returns.
You'll definitely get returns. Right. But the difference I have seen in my own 25 years of investing is the time you put in, you can actually make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
And founders are willing to listen.
Yeah. All of these are early stage founders, and they are actually more than willing to, listen to you and learn from your experience and execute that.
And here's my only piece of advice: when you think the founding team is not going to listen, don't invest. Seriously.
This is our actually next question from another anonymous attendee. So this is what should we look for in a founder or founding team? Are there any red flags? We just mentioned one example, like a solo founder or first-time founder that we should look out for.
So, as I said, it doesn't matter whether it's these days, because of so much competition or whatever and speed to market. So normally a team makes sense, a founding team which normally has a CEO who's got a business sense, or could be a techie, but they have a business guy. And a techie. This is the two minimum requirements, because it will be tech-based. And in the case of biotech, medtech, somebody who can handle the research and the technology part. I'm not meaning coding and stuff like that, but because this is such a specialized sector, somebody who understands, for example, I'm looking at investing in an early cancer. I personally invested in a company called Epigeneris, which is an early cancer detection company. And just to give you an idea, we still didn't have a product, but the valuation I invested was at 60 million then, because it had patents and it can detect cancer at stage 1 at about 80% chance compared to the world's best of less than 20%. That's the innovation.
Right.
There's another company. But there needs to be somebody who can build that technology.
Right.
And then then make it stable. And then do it at scale. We are setting up our lab in Bombay, and we should be out with our tests very shortly. So it's a good question, but that's what you need to look out for. It's a good team which is there. And my personal favorite is, it's a judgment whether you think when, sorry for this word, when shit hits the fan and you need to pivot, the team is capable of doing that.
Yeah.
And it does. Always it does.
Right. Next question is from Pulkit. The cost and time taken for regulatory approvals may be discouraging for many investors. How can we mitigate the risks along the way?
You can't. That's part of this game.
Yeah.
But the advantage of that is that once you get there, for anybody to catch up is even more difficult. So it's both ways. Yeah. So because that what looks like a risk to you when you're getting in, if you win, nobody else can catch up. That's the beauty of this game.
Right, right. Next question is from anonymous attendee. Is it good to invest in assistive healthcare device company rather than medical device for new investors?
I would, I'm personally involved with a foundation which is an accelerator for assistive technologies called Assistive Technology Foundation in Bangalore. And that's a space which I'm personally very involved in. The market size is large, but it's smaller. It could be for the blind, for the deaf. That's one of the areas I'm most excited about, is how do we use technology not for just rich people or whatever, but it's a very disadvantaged lot. So I also sit on another board called the National Council for Employment of Disabled People, where we encourage these ones, and we're working with the government to set up a whole cluster of investment in, so that people can make it at scale for the world. It's a big opportunity. Through IAN, I invested in a company called Arcatron, which is a wheelchair company.
Right.
And they're innovating in the wheelchair space, which is assistive in some sense. But I like that space. But you got to like it. It's a smaller than the rest of it, but it's got a great societal outcome, to my mind.
Right, right.
And there's so many interesting devices for, visually impaired, things like that. I'm personally looking for something. My own nephew in US is 16 years old. He's never spoken.
Oh.
He's a brilliant guy. He's got the mind of a Stephen Hawking, but his hands cannot move. So only his thumb moves. So we've invented a kind of iPad where the keyboard is vertical, because he can only move his hand, and he uses his hand to speak. It's very slow. So we are looking at technologies where there are companies coming in next 5 years to 10 years where you implant a probe in the brain. And both Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are investing in companies like this, where from the brain itself, you take the signals and avoid the path. So he can't speak. He's never spoken for 16 years, but he's got a photographic memory. He's brilliant. He can be a PhD guy today, but he can't speak and he can't type.
Right, yeah.
So Stephen Hawking is the most famous example, where he was speaking using assistive technology, which was built by my classmate from IIT in Bombay. Yeah.
Amazing.
Vikram Krishna. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a new fact that I have learned today about you.
In every family, we have people, and I'm so glad for this question. Every family, you have people who are, visually impaired or autistic or whatever it is. And if we can use technology to give them there's a company which I'm kind of mentoring, which is making a bionic arm, which, people have an accident, you lose your arm.
Right.
So there's a huge space there, and it's a global market, untapped.
Correct.
So maybe that's something we should talk about, Divya.
Yes, definitely.
Opportunity, I'll have to. Again, since this is a biotech, I'm going to meet my aunt in the army hospital. I'm so sorry, but she's 75. She was 3 months ago. She was walking on the road in Noida. A car hit her. And she injured her head. She had a brain surgery. So I just must go. Sorry.
No, absolutely. I was actually about to take one last question.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was about to actually take up one last question, but we'll leave it for all the questions.
One more question.
Okay. So this is the last one. For medical devices, what is the minimum development stage for investment? Given the long gestation period and huge fund requirement, what will be the minimum funding?
Again, it depends on the space. It depends on the stage of the company, whether the person has, got prototypes ready. Have they been trialed in some hospital? It takes time. But it takes a couple of years before you can get your device approval.
Right.
So the founder must know how much is required to pay for all the development, the trials, and so on and so forth, and the approvals.
Right.
It is, you must figure this out and make sure that the founding team understands what is required to make that happen. And there are now consultants available who will take you through the process. They know what is there, and that's where mentorship helps. So whatever it is, if you're not a medical device guy yourself, make sure there is a mentor. Like I told you, Noka, we had Yashdeep from Stryker. who mentored us through the process. So there needs to be
Exactly.
somebody who knows the process.
Right. And that actually one can also do through networks since you are co-investing.
Yeah.
So you have, I mean, a lot of expertise in that segment. If not, I mean, a lot, but at least one or two people who know, or maybe they
No.
know somebody in the network. So
BioAngels, if you come along and invest, we will have all those people on board
yeah,
to help the founder
absolutely.
in any case.
Right.
So don't worry about it.
Right.
You don't have to
Absolutely.
do it. We will do that heavy lifting.
Yeah, absolutely. With this, we have reached the end of today's engaging session. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We are really grateful for the time and effort that you have put in for sharing your insights and thoughts on the topic with us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, everybody. I've enjoyed it. I hope you all have.
I enjoyed it thoroughly. I hope our audience actually, found value to it. And I mean, I hope we know we were not able to actually address all the questions, but we'll be
No, I'm
happy
happy
to
to take
actually.
questions, then we can email it back. It's not a problem.
Yeah. Please, we have shared our email ID in the chat box with you.
I'm
You can,
available all the time. Don't worry. Share my mobile even. I'm open for that.
yeah. Okay. I'll share your number as well.
Yeah.
So you
Please
can
feel
reach out
free.
to us at info@bioangels.vc for any queries related to being an investor or applying to us for funding, and we'll be happy to address.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed the session and we added value to you. I hope that. And stay tuned for our next session, which would be on due diligence and evaluating startups. This would happen on 15th of October with Dr. Vinendra.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much, sir.